Hello, everyone, and welcome to English by Stories. Today's story is Ella's Unusual Pet. In this story, Ella, a young woman, moves into a new apartment. She makes her way to the office to get a form to allow her to have a pet. But when filling the form out, she gets nervous because her pet is not a normal pet. Okay. Before we start, I have a request. Okay, please help me reach my first 100 subscribers by pushing the big red button underneath this video. It will make me happy and keep me writing new stories for you. Also, be sure to share these videos with your friends. Okay, let's get started. Hi. Excuse me. I need an application form to have a pet in my apartment. Ella stood in front of a desk as a young man stared down at some papers. The new apartment building was just recently built in Chicago, and the interior design of the building offices were very modern. The dark brown of the wooden desks and open floor pattern with large windows made the office on the first floor feel calm and welcoming. Despite this, Ella was nervous as she asked for the form because her pets did not exactly fit into the conventional pet guidelines. The young man looked up from his paper and gave Ella a warm smile before responding. What kind of pet is it? We have different forms for different pets. With a barely audible tone, she mumbled, Don't suppose you have one for a dragon? The clerk behind the desk quickly asked for clarification. Excuse me? Dragon. My pet's name is Dragon, and it's a cat, so I guess I need a pet form for a cat, she finished with an awkward smile back at the clerk. Interesting name for a cat, he said as he handed her the form. Despite the nervousness building as she completed the form, she filled in the form with her eloquent handwriting. Pet name, Dragon. Age, 1 year old. Color, grayish. Weight, 15 pounds. Breed, mixed. Size, large. She handed the small form back to the man. He looked it over briefly before looking back up at her. I just want to make sure this is correct, but you wrote 15 pounds for the weight of your cat. Are you sure that's correct? That seems heavy. Yes, it's right. I have a fat cat. It really likes to eat. I should probably put Dragon on a diet, she said while giving a slight laugh at her own joke. Right then. Well, all of the standard rules apply. Make sure you clean up after your cat. Make sure it doesn't bother your neighbors. And any damage done by the cat, you are responsible to handle. The man finished explaining the basic rules of having a cat, and after a few short minutes made Ella pay the pet deposit fee and sent her on her way. Ella made her way across the apartment complex to her room. It was a nice complex, with grass in the courtyard and accommodations such as a swimming pool and a gym. It wasn't that extravagant, but it was a new building and it was well maintained. Some rooms were still empty, but most of them had filled up. She walked into the front door of Building A and rode the elevator up to the 4th floor. She stood before room 402 for a brief second. She inhaled a deep breath and then she opened the door, slipped through it, and slammed it shut as quickly as possible, not wanting anybody to see inside the door when she opened it. She leaned her back on the door and waited quietly for the inevitable noise that would soon start. Not a second later, the sound of small claws scraping on the wooden floor could be heard rushing towards her. It grew louder and louder. As she stood in the entranceway, she carefully watched the corner where the entrance hall met the kitchen. An emerald green head poked around the corner first. The head was about the size of a grown man's fist. The nose of the animal extended down a few inches before curving slightly to form a mouth similar to a bird. On the top of the head were two tiny emerald-colored stumps, which Ella assumed would one day become horns. The neck of the emerald beast was short and connected to a plump, round body. It strode forward on all 4 feet. Razor-sharp claws scratched at the floor. All of this, Ella could handle. If it was just the color, horns, and claws, she could just tell everyone that it was some type of exotic lizard. What really made this pet stand out was what was on its back. Ella's nervousness melted away as her face was overridden with joy. She smiled excitedly to see her unique pet. She loved Esma, which was her dragon's real name, with all her heart. She watched Esma as she ran down the hall towards her. Esma took a few quick steps, and then from almost 15 feet away, she leapt. Ella's smile quickly faded as she realized what Esma was trying to do. The thin emerald wings on Esma's back began to unfold as she tried to fly in the tight space of the hallway. As she tried to flap her wings, the left wing caught on a painting that was hanging on the wall. It clipped Esma's wing and she went tumbling to the ground with a small thud. Ella rushed over to her dragon and scooped her up in her arms. The young dragon looked up at Ella and then gave her a lick on the cheek to tell her she was fine. Ella laughed to herself and gave Esma a hug. Everything was going to be fine, she thought. Knock, knock. Ella? I heard a sound. Is everything okay? Fear gripped Ella's heart. It was her neighbor at the door. She glanced at Esma before saying, "Just a minute." This was part 1 of Ella's Unusual Pet. Thank you for listening. Please follow me on Twitter, like and subscribe for more stories. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think will happen next. Until then, check out some of my other stories. Goodbye. Until next time.